Breakdowns are the biggest or the most important drawings between the keys, and let's remind ourselves of our thumbnails. So in this case, I'm going to keep it very simple. Number 7 between 1 and 9, and number 11, what you see with the stroke here, those are the breakdowns. And you can make the breakdowns a very simple between those drawings, and I think that's probably what we should do for this to keep things fairly straightforward. So let's do that, and remember again our time here, number 7 and number 11. Let's add them. So here I will add number 7, and here I will add number 11. And I'm going to make both of these red so that we can see them as breakdowns. It'll help us to differentiate the keys from the breakdowns and the in-betweens. So we want to switch off the exposures and then give them their own exposure here. So between 1, this is the keyframe number 1 here, and the next one, number 9, we're going to add an exposure for 7. That's this little button here. And let's put 7 there. So now if I toggle 1, 7, 9, I need to add one more exposure here, and I'll make that 11. So now if I toggle through 1, 7, 9, 11, 17, one more chore to do is to add a stack here for the in-betweens. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is going to be an empty one, nothing on it. So just make that blank, and that's so that I have a little buffer between the flipping sequence here that I'm going to create. So the first that I need to do is this one, and that will be number 1. And let's bring the opacity up to 100%. On this one, it'll be number 1, 7, and 9. And on this one, number 9. So now if I toggle 1, 1, 7, 9, 9. And to get the full light table effect, I'll make this one 22% opacity, number 9, 44% opacity, and I'll draw on number 7. In the previous chapter, I showed you the importance of plotting arcs, so let's do that now too before we go any further. So I'll call this arcs, and I'll use the bridge of the nose as my plot point here. I'm going to make the blend mode on this blue, color overlay blue. Right click and make this layer blue, just to remind me. So I'm going to use the bridge of the nose as my plot point, and that is the one for number 1. Let's move forward, and here is the point for number 9, and forward again to 17. So this gives me a feel for the arc position for the bridge of the nose, and that will really help me to nail down everything that follows. So as long as I get that right, you'll find that the eyes, the mouth will be fairly much in the right position. So number 7 will be here, number 5 will be there, and that'll be 3. And a big gap here from 9 to 11, then 13, 15, and this will be 17. So that's the nose plot. Now we can do this for other parts too with different layers. So let's pick one for this point of the hair. That could be important as well. So let's try that. Hair, I'm going to give this one a different color. Blending, color, overlay. We'll make it green. So let's right click on that and make this layer green. I'm just going to make a blob here for the center of mass. And we'll toggle forward to frame 9, and it's going to be doing something a little unusual here because of the drag, and then it's going to end up over here on number 17. So the hair will be doing something probably more like this, very tight in here, so hopefully it won't be too sticky. And because of the size of this drag, I think I will drag the hair a little bit. So on number 11 I'll put it there, and then 13 here, and then 15 there. That'll be a nice guide for the hair so I don't get into trouble. With complex scenes, I have 3 or 4 or 5 arc layers for a right arm, hand, left, hand, right, and so on, if I think a body part needs to be tracked. It's always important to plot the arcs, at least have something to work with. So now we have our in-between segments here. We have number 1, and then we'll do number 7 here, and then to 9. And I have my arc plots, so if I get lost, they'll help me. So remember the nose, be about there. And the hair will be somewhere up here. Now we want to see some action on the elbow, or the shoulder rather, coming up here. So very lightly going to block it in so it begins to break. I know when you begin doing this, it can be a little overwhelming because you're looking at this line on top of line on top of line, and it can be very intimidating, very confusing. During the classic era, we would do this on paper. It wasn't easy, but what happens is as you do it, you become more comfortable with it. And I'm using the F1 and the F2 custom shortcuts that I made, and whatever shortcuts you use, you can, as long as you have any two keys that allow you to toggle like this back and forth, what will happen is your brain adapts to the toggling and it begins to plot for you the motion from line into line. It's really hard to describe until you've actually done it for a while. It took, when we were doing this on the physical drawings, sometimes maybe they said a week, maybe two, and something in your brain finally clicks. So if you find doing this course that you think, I'm never going to get comfortable doing this, you might be shortchanging yourself if you give up after a day or two. You'd want to give yourself maybe 2 weeks of this and see if it clicks. And once it clicks, then it opens up the ability to do all kinds of animation that you might have thought impossible otherwise. So I'm trying to follow this mouth from here. See it right there. Go into this one here. So sometimes I have to stop and go right. That shape there is going to go into that shape there. So it'll be about here. Not too bad. And another thing that might be easier is sometimes to switch off the light table effect and then just draw it. And that's something that we would do back in the day as well. Sometimes you would do this with a light table, looking through all the different sheets, and other times you would just switch it off and just let your brain figure it out. Whatever works, depending on the individual drawings and your comfort level with the flipping process. Okay, so that's not too horrible. That's the first one. So now we'll set up the stack for the second. So we're going from number 9 to number 11 to number 17. And on the mid one, the one we're going to draw on, again, we need to set the opacity of the bottom at 22, the top one at 44. We're going to draw on number 11. Remember as well our plots for the center point of the nose and the hair. Particularly the hair will be important here. Let's zoom in. I will draw the point of the nose first. So this shoulder here is on number 9. We want to ease in at least with one more drawing so it doesn't just snap. I think it'd be nice if we could cushion that transition. I'm going to block in the head too. Remember, we're moving in this kind of arc path here. If I show you the blue line again. So we want that center of mass of the head just to come down a little bit. And now the hair, where was that again? About here. So we're at number 11. So I would never, if I hadn't plotted the arc, I would never have guessed that. So the hair is going to really drag. That's going to look good. Let's erase all this here. And I want to keep that scrunch on the face because you'll be amazed how little that reads on these very fast head turns. I want to give it a little more time to read. And I think we can drag some of the face as well. Maybe tease in the wide open mouth. Think of the color area also. If this is going to be painted, then this color area on number 17, that's going to be red or whatever at some point. Then you really want that not just to pop in for the last drawing. And we'll be bringing that other ear in around this side. And I think now I can switch off the light table effect. And I can put it back on again if I need to plot the precise position of that torso. And I think this ear here, if we just have a hint of it there, it might help that head turn just to read a little more. Okay, and remember we can change these exposures, so let's make that first one 1/2 a second and the final one 1/2 a second. And now when we hit play, that's really nice. And we are ready to cushion out of and into the final 2 keys with the in-betweens.